a ventriloquist. It all started when I was 10 years old. I went to my school library and I found a book by complete accident on ventriloquism. I've been performing that for over 20 years, and yet most of America still doesn't know who I am. This is my big break.
Terry Fator, the America's Got Talent winner who seemed to have it all, actually faced a life full of heartbreak. What went wrong behind the scenes, away from the cheering crowds and puppet-filled acts? Let us dive into the untold struggles that turned Terry's dream life into a living hell for many years. The puppet that started it all. Terry started out in Dallas, Texas, born June 10, 1965. A regular kid until one day in 5th grade he stumbled on a dusty old book called Ventriloquism for Fun and Profit. Talk about an odd book to pull from a shelf. But he was hooked. He bought a ventriloquist dummy from Sears, named it Willie Talk, and just like that, he was in the game. He practiced obsessively, like the whole future of entertainment depended on him. Soon enough, he was winning prizes at church picnics, pulling off puppet shows while most kids his age were just getting used to riding bikes without training wheels. Before we dive deeper, it's clear that Terry's story takes a much darker turn than anyone could have imagined, and what's coming next will be the most shocking part yet. Even through high school and into college, he couldn't let go of the puppets. He went to Liberty University, but let's be honest, he probably spent more time with that puppet than with his books. His mother noticed his obsession. Probably figured that if the kid was going to spend that much time talking to wooden dolls, he might as well get good at it, so she worked 3 long years to buy him a professional puppet when he turned 18. It's hard to say if that was an act of motherly love or just pure desperation, but he took it to heart. By 1987, he decided he was going to do more than just ventriloquism. He joined a band, Freedom Jam, as their lead singer. Imagine being in a rock band and your frontman brings out a puppet. It was different, but he was determined to make it work. He toured with them all over the United States and Canada, singing at high schools. He even joined another band called Texas the Band and brought his puppet Walter T. Airedale into the show. Walter became a regular part of their act. People didn't know whether to laugh, cringe, or clap. And just when things looked like they might take off, a record deal came into the picture. He got told he needed to ditch the ventriloquism and just sing in his own voice. You'd think he might have been crushed, but honestly, it was probably the best rejection of his life. He knew deep down he wasn't a real singer. His skill was making people laugh with puppets and silly voices, not belting ballads. So he left the band, stuck with the puppets, and focused on a solo career doing what he loved. But it wasn't all laughs. For years, he performed at fairs under the brutal sun, sometimes getting heat stroke, sweating buckets in a poorly ventilated costume, the glamorous life of a struggling artist. Once, he booked a 1,000-seat theater, and only one person showed up. You've got to hand it to him. He could have packed it all in right there, but somehow he kept going.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Winston the Impersonating Turtle!
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Ah, Winston, so what are you planning on doing for us?
Well, I'd really like to do a magic trick.
You do magic?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of magic do you do?
I can levitate.
I guess when you've spent your whole life talking to puppets, public embarrassment is just another Tuesday. By 2005, he was trying to find a new angle, anything to get people excited about his act. One day, while singing Friends in Low Places, he started impersonating other singers in mid-song. The crowd went wild. It was the moment he'd been waiting for. People finally cared. He revamped his routine to include more impersonations, blending ventriloquism, comedy, and music. It was a triple threat that made him stand out. He started getting offers to perform at corporate gigs for big companies like General Motors and Tant. Before long, he was even opening for stars like Reba McEntire and Garth Brooks, big names who probably had no clue who Terry Fator was, but liked his goofy energy. Then came 2007 and everything changed. He took a chance and auditioned for America's Got Talent. He figured he'd do a few episodes, maybe snag an appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman. That was his big dream. He never thought he'd actually win the whole thing, but he did. Somehow, despite David Hasselhoff muttering, "Oh no, a ventriloquist," when he walked on stage, he won everyone over. Even Simon Cowell, that famously cranky judge, called him one of the top 2 entertainers on the planet. High praise from the guy who usually delights in tearing people down. After winning America's Got Talent, Terry's life sped up fast, but fame brought troubles he couldn't just laugh off. Winning big and losing love. Winning America's Got Talent catapulted him into stardom. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of him. Interviews, appearances, performances, and he was busier than he could handle. Ironically, he had to turn down Letterman's show 14 times before he finally had an opening to do it. Imagine the one thing you'd wanted for years, and now you're too famous to even fit it in. Funny how life works like that. After winning, he got offered a headlining gig at the Jubilee Theater in Las Vegas, but they only wanted to give him a 15-minute slot. He wasn't having that. He turned it down. Then in 2008, he landed the real deal, a $100 million contract for 5 years with the Mirage in Vegas. He replaced Danny Gans as the headliner, and they even named the theater after him. Imagine that. A guy with a puppet named Willie Talk was now one of the most sought-after acts in Vegas. But the fame and fortune didn't solve everything. Behind all the success, his personal life was crumbling. He was married to his first wife, Melinda, whom he'd eloped with in 1991. But fame, it turns out, isn't great for a marriage. Melinda filed for divorce in 2010, and while he initially kept things civil, claiming it was just mutual differences, he later admitted it wasn't that simple. He described Melinda as controlling and manipulative, someone who isolated him from his family and pushed her way into his career decisions. He even said she insisted on editing his autobiography just so she could get more credit. Melinda, of course, had her own version. She claimed he was playing the victim and wasn't telling the whole truth. She denied being controlling or refusing to have kids. She said she didn't even know he was unhappy until he asked for a separation. It was a messy split with both sides pointing fingers, and he didn't come out looking all that great. He blamed Melinda, then he blamed his career handlers, then he blamed himself for being too much of a coward to stand up to anyone. And just when you thought things couldn't get weirder, he moved on pretty quickly. In 2010, he married Taylor Makakoa, who had auditioned to be part of his Vegas show. It was like a fairy tale, except, with a puppeteer and an on-stage assistant. They got married in Hawaii, but by 2015, they were done too. They claimed they were still friends and even kept working together. Awkward much? Taylor said everything was the same, just without the marriage part. Not exactly the dream relationship everyone hopes for. He didn't stay single for long. Later in 2015, he met Angie Fiore, a chef from Dallas. His sister introduced them at a charity event, and boom, love at first sight. They got married later that year in a surprise ceremony. Angie went from catering events to being the president of the Terry Fator Foundation, a charity focused on helping veterans and first responders. It seemed like he might have finally found his happy ending, but who knows? With his track record, you've got to wonder how long it'll last. For all his struggles, one thing you can't deny is that he's got a big heart. Despite the personal drama and the career ups and downs, he's always found ways to give back. He supported Ronald McDonald House Charities, helped raise money for kids' sports programs, and even performed benefit concerts for families of minors and kids with health issues. He's done more charity work than most celebrities you'll hear about, maybe because he knows what it's like to feel like you're barely holding on.
I'm not going anywhere with her. Sorry. Well, Vicky, what do you want me to do? Put me in the box with the boys. Let's see if they know how to play poker. Oh, Vicky, everybody. Oh, yeah.
His time at the Mirage came to an end in 2020 after an impressive 11-year run. It was the end of an era for him, but in typical fashion, it was bittersweet. The fame that had brought him so much success had also wrecked his personal life and forced him to make choices that weren't always great for him. He'd spent years trying to prove himself, to make people take ventriloquism seriously, all while dealing with failed marriages and handlers who pushed him to be someone he wasn't. With a new marriage and a theater named after him, Terry seemed set, but behind the smiles, there were struggles he couldn't escape. Fame's heavy price for Terry. Maybe his story is a lesson in how fame isn't all it's cracked up to be. Sure, he made millions, he had his name in lights, and he got to live his dream, but at what cost? His first marriage fell apart, his second marriage fell apart, and his third one's future is still a question mark. He's had to battle with the very people he hired to help him, and he's been pushed to make jokes that were out of character for him just to stay in the limelight. At the end of the day, he is a guy who spent his life chasing after a dream, only to find that the dream came with a lot of baggage he never expected. He's been on top of the world and he's been at rock bottom. He's made people laugh and he's made his fair share of enemies. He's tried to reinvent himself over and over again, hoping each time that this time, it'll be enough. Maybe the real tragedy of his story isn't just the failed relationships or the struggles behind the scenes. Maybe it's that he's always trying to be someone he's not, the singer, the comedian, the ventriloquist, who's also a serious performer. It's a lot to juggle, especially when you're doing it with a puppet on your hand. And yet somehow he keeps going. Despite all the setbacks, his relentless drive carried him forward. After his marriage to Angie, he seemed more determined than ever to keep his place in the spotlight. He knew that staying relevant in show business required constant evolution. He couldn't just rest on his past achievements. He needed to find new ways to capture people's attention. This realization prompted him to make significant changes to his act. He introduced new characters, each one designed to keep audiences on their toes. He knew people liked surprises, and he was determined to give them what they wanted. As the years passed, he faced challenges that tested his resilience. The pandemic in 2020 hit live entertainment hard. Shows were canceled, venues shut down, and performers were left in a state of uncertainty. His residency at the Mirage, which had been his home for over a decade, ended abruptly. The Las Vegas Strip, once bustling with life and energy, became a ghost town, and he was forced to reassess his career. It was a difficult time for everyone in the entertainment industry, but for him it felt like another cruel twist of fate. Despite the setbacks, he adapted. He turned to virtual performances, reaching his fans through online platforms. It wasn't the same as being on stage in front of a live audience, but it kept him connected to his supporters. He even began hosting online Quanda sessions, where fans could ask questions and get a glimpse behind the curtain of his career. He shared stories about his path, his struggles, and his triumphs. It was a way for him to stay connected during a time when physical connections were limited. Even after the Mirage, he wasn't ready to give up on live performances. When venues began to open again, he jumped at the opportunity to get back on stage. He started performing at smaller theaters and venues, adjusting his act to fit the intimate settings. He wasn't performing in front of thousands anymore, but he was back where he felt most comfortable, on stage with his puppets by his side, making people laugh. It was a humbling experience, but it was also a reminder of why he started doing this in the first place.
I'm gonna be high. There's a bright light there.
Hey, Elton, let's do a duet.
Okay, I'll do the Dua Lipa version.
I got a better idea. How about I do a Dua Lipa version?
Throughout his career, he has faced criticism from those who see ventriloquism as a gimmick rather than a serious art form. He has always felt the need to prove himself, to show people that ventriloquism is more than just a sideshow act. He looked up to legends like Edgar Bergen and Paul Winchell, who paved the way for performers like him. But he also knew that the negative stereotypes associated with ventriloquism were hard to shake. He wanted to break the mold to show that his act could be just as entertaining, just as moving as any other form of performance. Now, stepping away from the spotlight, Terry faces a choice: stay known for his puppets or show there's more to his story. Facing the stage and his demons. His dedication to his craft went beyond the stage. He was constantly working on new characters, new routines, new jokes. He was never satisfied with staying the same. He wanted to evolve, to grow, to keep pushing the boundaries of what people expected from a ventriloquist. He wasn't content with being just the guy with the puppets. He wanted to be an entertainer, someone who could make people laugh, cry, and everything in between. It was a lofty goal, but it was what kept him going. Over the years, he became more comfortable embracing his flaws. He talked openly about his failed marriages, his struggles with fame, and the mistakes he'd made along the way. He was honest about the fact that he hadn't always handled things well, that he'd hurt people and made choices he wasn't proud of. But he also knew that those experiences had shaped him into the person he was. He wasn't perfect, and he didn't pretend to be. He was just a guy who loved what he did and wanted to keep doing it for as long as he could. In 2022, Terry took another bold step by releasing a documentary about his life. It was raw and unfiltered, showing the highs and lows of his path. The footage captured everything: the triumphs, the setbacks, the moments of doubt, and the moments of joy. It was his way of telling his story on his own terms, without the glossy veneer that often comes with fame. He wanted people to see the real Terry Fator, not just the entertainer with a puppet on his hand, but the man who had faced countless obstacles and kept moving forward. The documentary was well received, and it helped to reignite interest in his career. New opportunities began to come his way. He was invited to perform at special events and even got the chance to collaborate with other entertainers he admired. It felt like a second wind, a new chapter in his story. He knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy. After all, it never had been, but he was ready for whatever came next. Terry Fator's path is one of resilience, determination, and a refusal to give up. He has faced challenges that would have made many people walk away. He has experienced the highs of fame and the lows of personal turmoil. He has reinvented himself time and time again, always striving to be better, to do more, to make people laugh. He has made mistakes, but he has also learned from them. He has faced rejection, heartbreak, and failure, but he has also experienced joy, success, and love. In the end, Terry Fator is more than just a ventriloquist. He is a survivor. He is someone who has faced the harsh realities of the entertainment industry and come out the other side, maybe a little bruised, but still standing. He has spent his life chasing a dream, and even when that dream has turned into a nightmare, he hasn't let it break him. He has kept going, kept performing, kept making people laugh. And maybe that's what matters most. Maybe Terry Fator's story isn't just about the rise and fall of a famous performer. Maybe it's about the human spirit, about the ability to keep moving forward even when everything seems to be falling apart. It's about the willingness to be vulnerable, to admit your flaws, and to keep trying anyway. It's about finding joy in what you do even when the world seems determined to take it away. It's about resilience, about standing up after every fall, about refusing to give up. Terry Fator may not be perfect, but he's real. He has faced his demons, battled his doubts, and confronted his failures. And through it all, he has continued to do what he loves. He has continued to make people smile, to bring laughter into a world that can often feel dark. And maybe, in the end, that's enough. Terry's path has been anything but easy, but he's still here, puppets in hand, doing what he loves. And for a guy who started out with a book from a dusty library shelf and a puppet bought from Sears, that's pretty incredible. Is Terry Fator's tragic story just bad luck, or was he set up to fail by those closest to him? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more.